Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. Today's the day, trade deadline day, a day that can determine success not just for this year's Phillies team, but for 5-10 years to come. It's a major day for Dave Dombrowski and the Philadelphia Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me for some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that you're rating and reviewing if you're listening to this in podcast form. We're available anywhere you can get your podcasts. We're also available on YouTube if you want to watch the podcast. And if so, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. That'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. It's free and easy to do. It costs you nothing to subscribe or anything like that. And it really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. So I appreciate everyone who's done that, everyone who's going to do that. It's a win-win for everybody involved. Appreciate that. Today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. So in today's episode, we are going to roll through some final reminders about deadline expectations. We're also going to talk about the potential trade packages that the Phillies could put together with the Athletics. It's kind of a long shot, but they're still out there. And then the Cardinals are kind of this sneaky safety net option for a lot of teams, including the Philadelphia Phillies, and we'll round out with that. Now, I'll tell you this right now. I haven't mentioned this yet this week, but before we get into those final reminders about deadline expectations, I am going on vacation starting today. In fact, while you're watching this, I am already out of the country. So I am recording this on Wednesday. And forgive me if any of this stuff has already happened or these players have been moved. I mean, I'm doing my best to get you guys the information I can right up until when my plane takes off. I'm supposed to be at the airport in like an hour. So I'm trying to knock this out for you real quick here. We will not have a full episode on Friday, the day after deadline day. We will not have a full episode on Monday. I come back on Tuesday, and that will be the next time I will get you a full episode. But rest assured, I will be getting you immediate reactions from vacation on what the Phillies are doing. So it will be shorter videos. It'll be YouTube shorts, right? But you will have my minute-long reactions. I'll be posting content on X, so you can follow me at Connor Thomas 975 or Locked On Phillies at LO_Phillies. I just won't be able to have a full episode recorded. I'm going on one of my buddy's bachelor parties in Ibiza. So it'd be pretty hard to find a way to knock back a 30-minute podcast episode there without some type of distraction. But I will be doing Locked On Phillies immediate reaction videos to the Major League Baseball trade deadline from Ibiza. I'm pretty sure that'll be the first time in the Locked On Podcast Network history that somebody has done that. So don't worry, we will get you my thoughts. But full episode after this one, the next one will be on Tuesday. But anyway, so I appreciate y'all bearing with me. Hopefully by the time I'm back on U.S. soil, Dave Dombrowski has made this Phillies team into a true World Series contender. So let's get into those final reminders about the trade deadline expectations. I cannot overstate that this trade deadline is make or break, not just for this season, but for the next 3 to 5 to heck, even 7 or 10 years, because this is the turning point of what this Philadelphia Phillies era is. They are right on the edge of a lot of different outcomes. Like in 2022, if that team did not win the World Series, and they didn't, they were going to go out and they were going to re-up and they were going to come back next year and say, heck, we'll throw more money at another star player, go get Trey Turner and get back after this. In 2023, if they did not win the World Series, and they didn't, they were going to say, okay, we may not throw money at another star player, but we're going to retool this roster, and we're going to be active in the offseason, and we're going to continue to build around this core because we just went to the World Series and the NLCS. There's no way we can't be aggressive. In 2024, if they didn't win the World Series, well, okay, you have another year potentially with this group of players based on the contract situations and everything. So you can still push this out a little bit, but it's getting a little sketchy. Right now, folks, we're in 2025. If the Phillies don't do it this year, if they don't win it this year, there will be a lot of different things about this baseball team next year. Kyle Schwarber could be gone. He's making an MVP case in the contract year. JT Realmuto could be gone. There may be teams that value him higher than the Phillies do, even though that shouldn't be the case. We know his deficiencies as well as we know his strengths. Ranger Suarez could be gone. I don't know if the Phillies have it in them to pay him the money that other teams around baseball are going to, knowing that he's had his weak spots with availability. Those are three big-time pieces of the puzzle that could be gone. Nick Castellanos heading into a contract year. He could be moved this offseason. Bryson Stott has been non-creative as far as production is concerned. You're looking at a second baseman who hasn't really gotten the job done, and maybe his time here is coming to an end. Alec Bohm, we've already heard trade rumors about him last offseason. We'll see if those get louder when the offseason begins again this year. Brandon Marsh, people are at their wits' end with him. Max Kepler, not going to be here past this year. I could look at just about every Philadelphia Phillies starting player besides Bryce Harper and Trey Turner and say, I can't promise you they'll be here next year. And that's why it's imperative that Dave Dombrowski gets this right. Now, what my thoughts are, and you can tell me in the comments if you agree or disagree with this, but my thoughts on this are not trade everybody, go all in. Because whether you win the World Series or lose the World Series, whether you make the right moves by the end of the trade deadline today at 6 p.m. or you do not make the right moves, there's still a chance that you lose, right? There's still a chance that you come up short. And there's still that opportunity because of the whole crapshoot of trying to win the baseball playoffs. You can get a great player, all the guys that we want, Eugenio Suarez, David Bednar, Yohan Duran, bring those guys in, and it still might not work. There are some other darn good teams out there in baseball who are trying to improve. So we'll see. But there has to be life after this season. There does, which is why I can't move on from Andrew Painter, which is why it's going to take a lot for me to move on from Justin Crawford. I finally want to see a homegrown outfielder actually make an impact on this team. Aiden Miller may have to move, but if he doesn't, hey, he's part of your future. Mick Abel, probably going to move, but if he doesn't, hey, part of your future. Maybe he makes up for Ranger Suarez. Maybe he makes up for an aging Aaron Nola. We don't know what he is. The point is this, right? The way I'm going into the deadline is I'm not taking calls on Andrew Painter. I need him. He's my crown jewel of keeping this team competitive in future years. But everybody else is completely on the table, right, for the right price. I'm not going to just trade him for nothing. I'm not going to trade a top 20 Major League Baseball prospect in Aiden Miller, who's at 18 right now, for, I don't know, Ramon Laureano. That's not happening. But you have to be willing to be selectively aggressive. I don't want Dave Dombrowski to empty the coffers, but I don't want him to sit on his hands either. And that's a tough needle to thread. And he's got a really tough job to do that while also negotiating with other teams and figuring out, hey, how ready am I to push all in on this team? I would not go all in on the 2025 Phillies. And the reason why is because the Dodgers are very good. The Brewers have been on a tear. The Chicago Cubs are a solid team. The Mets are a solid team. Let's go over to the AL. The Detroit Tigers are a solid team. AL East has a couple of teams in there that could be sneaky good. The Houston Astros are playing really, really darn good baseball right now. The Phillies do not go head and shoulders above any of those teams at the trade deadline, or all of those teams at that trade deadline. And that's why there needs to be some smart, prudent moves, maybe one big splash, and you need to keep an eye a little bit on the future as well. And just cross your fingers and hope after that one. That's how I would go. People would be mad at that, saying, hey, that's not enough. This team needs major, major fixes. I will continue to contend. I don't think they need a major fix. I think they need a competent right-handed bat that can play a corner outfield spot. I think they need a top end of the bullpen reliever, and they need a middle of the bullpen reliever, in addition to the David Robertson trade that they've already made. But man, you mess this up. We remember what happened in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. It was a long time without postseason baseball here in Philadelphia, right? Well, I guess that would be 12 to then, but still, I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to miss out on that. I don't want Bryce Harper's prime years as he makes his Hall of Fame case to be on a team that doesn't compete. I never want to see that again from our baseball team. And if you've got the farm system, you're heading that direction if you don't win. You're heading that direction if you do win. So that's why you can't do it. So that balance needs to be struck. And yet, you still need a lot of help. Today is one of the bigger days in this era of Philadelphia Phillies baseball's history. All right? When you tell the story of the Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner Phillies, this core, a lot of it will be written about the day that we're about to have. And hopefully, in that dramatic soliloquy, there haven't been a lot of trades overnight after I recorded this that make all of that invalid. So we'll see. I may have just sounded like a moron trying to be all dramatic like that, but it is dramatic. And that's just setting the stage for what today could be, or may have already been by the time you're watching this. Coming up next, we're going to look at what the Sacramento Athletics, just the Athletics have to offer as potential trade bait for the Philadelphia Phillies. And there is a package that sounds pretty darn good, but how willing are they to part with those players? We'll talk about Brent Rooker and Mason Miller coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. But first, let's talk about 5-Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. You know how it is if you play golf, right? You're out there, maybe you had a long night the night before. One of your friends booked like a 7:30 a.m. tee time. You're like, man, you're killing me. You get to the first tee and you're like, I can barely stand up straight. I'm not even ready to have a beer yet. Well, you can have a golf course style drink in an energy shot with the 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Get you zoned in on the golf course so you could play your best, or for work, or for maybe even just watching the Phillies. Hey, whatever you got to do, whenever you need energy, they're there for you. And it's great on the golf course. Like we've been saying, golf is all about good times and good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th, so hurry up on one order, and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Go ahead and check them out. Again, it's Transfusion 5-Hour Energy. The Athletics, kind of a sneaky potential trade partner for the Philadelphia Phillies from a Major League Baseball perspective, but from a fan base perspective here in Philadelphia, we've been talking about these guys for a long time. Brent Rooker, Mason Miller, the two big-time names for the Athletics that would fit great. Rooker, right-handed outfield bat. Perfect. Miller, high-leverage closer arm. Perfect. Here's the problem. The Athletics are starting to show signs of future contention, right? They're not there yet this year, obviously. They're not in a spot where they're saying, okay, we are ready to compete for anything at the major league level right now. But they're in a real weird situation for trade deadlines because of their economics situation, right? They are currently in a minor league stadium, moving from Oakland to Las Vegas, and it's tough to see them making major ground-shattering moves with all of the other stuff that franchise has going on. Now, they're 47-63, right, out in the American League West. They're dead. They're not going to make the playoffs, even though they've had some nice moves here and there as far as calling guys up and getting some young talent. I mean, Nick Kurtz, he's unbelievable for them. Jacob Wilson is unbelievable for them. So they have like this young talent, but they're 15 games back in the division. So you would say, well, they should be sellers, right? They should move off a guy like Brent Rooker, who's 30, or a guy like Mason Miller, who could fetch them a lot, and maybe some players that fit more within their timeline. But the other argument is they might not be too far off being good like next year with some of these guys developing. So why would they move off of Mason Miller, who's under team control for a while? Why would they move off a guy like Brent Rooker, who's kind of the steadying older presence in that clubhouse with some of those guys? And they don't seem very inclined to, right? It's hard to trade with a team where their ownership is so much focused on their move to another city over their baseball operations. And that's what's tough about Oakland, but you can't, the Athletics. I'm going to mess that up forever. But it doesn't mean you can't think about it, right? Doesn't mean you can't give them a call. Doesn't mean we shouldn't look at the fit. And the fit is perfect. You can't find another team with two better player fit unless you look at like Yohan Duran and Byron Buxton in Minnesota. And we've already talked to you about how Duran's going to be tough to wrestle away. Buxton has a no trade clause. So let's think about it, right? Mason Miller slots perfectly into the back end of the Phillies bullpen. Brent Rooker can play center field. He can play a corner outfield spot, whatever you want to do. If Justin Crawford comes up, he can play left. If Justin Crawford doesn't come up, he can play center, and Marsh can play left, and Max Kepler can, I don't know, go somewhere else. And Nick Castellanos can play right. Like, it makes so much sense. Now, if you're going to talk a team into doing this, if you say, well, make them an offer they can't refuse. All right, Don Corleone, let's take a deep breath over there. Who's that going to be? And the answer to that is pretty much everybody. Like, you look at your top prospects to get that type of package done, the A's are going to want, for controllable players, Miller would have to probably go. Crawford would probably have to go. Abel would probably have to go. Plus, maybe. That's 3 top 100 prospects, plus other prospects from your system in that deal. And that is the baseline, as far as I'm concerned, to get that deal done. Are you willing to do that? A lot of people are, but let's look at it. Let's say you trade Abel, Miller, Crawford, and then another guy from the Brian Rincon is the name I just keep tossing out there. Well, now the future of your infield's gone. The future of your outfield is gone. One of the future pitchers in your rotation is gone. You have Painter, you have Tait, and you have Arun Escobar. Those are your top 100 prospects that you still have. You still have Andrew Painter. Great. But they also could say, because they're operating from position of power, they don't want to move on from these guys, and they don't need to move on from these guys, because what are they going to do? Disappoint their fan base? They've already screwed over their fan base so much out there, they don't even know which way is up. So they could say, hey, give us Andrew Painter, or this deal doesn't happen. And at that point, well, you're not doing that. You're not, because that's too much selling out for the here and now. Brent Rooker is still 30. And Mason Miller. Yeah, Mason Miller. I always get Mason and Aiden. Mason Miller is a good arm, but he's had struggles at points, and he has not really pitched in high leverage situations as far as postseason is concerned in his Major League Baseball career. So you worry about that. Is he one of those guys that comes from a lower stress team to a higher stress team and performs? I don't know. I don't see the Athletics as a likely trade partner for anybody, much less the Philadelphia Phillies, even though they have exactly what they need. And this is the perfect example of the, hypocrisy of the trade deadline. It's like you can find moves all over the place, but the other team doesn't have to be smart. The other team doesn't have to be rational. The other team doesn't have to be willing. They can say no for whatever reason. They don't have to explain it. This ain't court. This isn't an arbitration case where you're trying to figure out the dollar amount of players being paid, and a judge is going to decide end of the day what happens. Let's say Dave Dombrowski and the president of baseball operations for the Athletics don't like each other. They got in a fight at a golf tournament or something. Hang up the phone, that deal never happens, right? Now, that's not like a thing. I'm just saying these very small, minute details that we could never even predict from the outside looking in can affect everything at the trade deadline. And that's why it's so tough to look at players and be like, that guy should be here, that guy shouldn't be here. We should move on from him. We should trade for him. right? And that's what's tough about the Athletics are the perfect example of that. Perfect fit, bad team, in turmoil. You have the prospects that they may want, and a deal just doesn't seem likely to get done for whatever reason. And that's Athletics baseball, and that's Phillies baseball. That's just how it goes sometimes. So names to keep an eye on in case the Athletics somehow come out of the blue and decide to be major sellers, which isn't out of the question, but it doesn't seem likely via national reporting over the past couple of days, weeks, anything like that. Those are names that would fit too well for me to not mention them. But that's the dream girl scenario, right? Everybody needs a backup plan. Everybody needs that person to settle with. Everyone needs that safety net. And for the Philadelphia Phillies at the trade deadline, this last-ditch option could be the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll talk about them coming up next as we wrap up this special trade deadline day edition of Locked On Phillies. Okay, so how is this with safety net? Let me talk you through it. The Phillies could be looking at the St. Louis Cardinals as the ultimate backup plan. Who is the number one option as a reliever for the Philadelphia Phillies? Probably Yohan Duran. Number 2 was probably Emmanuel Clase. Number 3 might have been Felix Bautista. Number 4, Mason Miller. Number 5, David Bednar. Go through it however you want to, but those were the top guys. Those were the guys that were mentioned over and over and over and over and over again with this team. But they might not all work out. Clase, the gambling issue. Duran may not be traded. Miller may not be traded. Bautista is injured. Bednar is going to have a lot of people after him. We will see. Let's go through the right-handed power bat option. Taylor Ward out there in LA. Maybe gets traded, maybe doesn't. We will see what the Angels do. They are an irrational franchise. O'Neal Cruz in center field in Pittsburgh, an outfield option with this lineup. Not really a guy that seems to excite a lot of people, just like Luis Robert in Chicago, Byron Buxton, no trade clause in Minnesota. I mean, all of these different options. Brett Rooker in Sacramento with the Athletics. Like, there are a lot of guys out there as far as right-handed bats or just bats in general that you seem to like. Cedric Mullins, not good enough. Ramon Laureano, solid year. Do you believe in him like that? There are all these names that have been floating around, and the packages that we've been looking at either have like a plus reliever and an okay outfielder, a plus outfielder and an okay reliever, plus outfielder and plus reliever. Well, guess what? There's the ultimate backup plan that the Phillies could fall back on. Now, I don't know how likely this is, and I don't even know how much I like it because I don't know how good Nolan Arenado is. But the Philadelphia Phillies could look at the Cardinals and say, well, we didn't get a Eugenio Suarez. We didn't get an outfield right-handed bat. We didn't get what we needed so far as that's concerned. Let's pivot and go get Nolan Arenado. And there's also a guy throwing out of the bullpen for the St. Louis Cardinals that could potentially fit the bill in Ryan Helsley for the St. Louis Cardinals as well. And Helsley, right-handed thrower, back of the bullpen guy, has been having himself a pretty solid year. Now, he's 31, and Arenado's old too. And some people look at them and say, these guys are washed. A 3 ERA for Helsley. Arenado has not been swinging it too well at all this year. So, I don't know. What do you think? This is like the bargain bin version of the big-time parlay play. But it might be necessary. And, hey, I will tell you this right now. If you acquire those 2 players, your team is better tomorrow than they are today. Now, do I want to do that based on what the asking price could be? It depends. This is your backup plan. So here, you don't want to sell out for the backup plan. Painter's off the table there. Crawford's off the table there. Miller's potentially on the table there. But this might be an Eduardo Tait, Arun Escobar, other Mick Abel type of deal. Actually, not even that. Mick Abel, Arun Escobar, and another prospect. And then maybe you throw in who even knows from the Major League team. Max Kepler to just beat salary. I don't know. I don't know how you get it done, but I will tell you that my top 2, maybe top 3 prospects are not moving in this deal because they are not worth that. You are going to be saddled with a potentially washed Nolan Arenado for a couple of seasons. Helsley is an okay pitcher, but I don't think he's a guy you just put in the back end of the bullpen and forget about it, like a Yohan Duran, Felix Bautista, Emmanuel Clase, Mason Miller, David Bednar. I don't think that's how these guys are. Like, I think this is the not washed version, but this is like your last resort, where if the 11th hour rolls around and you're sitting there at 5:55 p.m., trade deadline ends today at 6 p.m., you make your last call to St. Louis and be like, have you moved Arenado yet? Have you moved Helsley yet? We'll do it. We'll throw this and that in as sweeteners off our previous deal. Let's get something done so the fan base doesn't crush me. Because if you don't think Dave Dombrowski knows the pressure that's on him today, you're wrong. He knows how much this trade deadline matters. He knows how much it's going to take time to bake in, and it won't just be an immediate pass-fail, or shouldn't be an immediate pass-fail as of 6:01 p.m. tonight. But it is going to be a big moment in his Phillies tenure. Like, he may be feeling the heat of even could his job be on the line based on what he does or doesn't do today. He's trying to fix a lot of former problems, whether that's not being able to move on from Alec Boehm this offseason to reshape this team, whether it's not re-signing Carlos Estevez and Jeff Hoffman and leaving this bullpen in the lurch. He's trying to do all of that. So what I see when I look at the St. Louis Cardinals, I see it as a Dave Dombrowski save his job or try to save his job type of move by saying more aesthetically we're doing something than in actuality. Now, maybe I'm under-evaluating what Nolan Arenado and Ryan Helsley can bring to this baseball team. But I look at them and I say, okay, those are league average players right now. I mean, above average, but like as far as above average is concerned, they're average, if that makes sense, right? They're not superstars anymore. Arenado is a fringe star player, the current version of himself, still plays great defense, not a great bat. And Helsley is a fringe high leverage guy. Is that good enough? I don't think so. Is that all you might get? It's possible. So we'll see how that all plays out. And I don't know. The other thing that I'll do real quick, right, is that is the main potential for the St. Louis Cardinals to make that trade with the Phillies. Like, that's the names that have been tossed around that I've been hearing. Here's the last thing that I want to do before we wrap up today's episode. And then next time I talk to you, we'll have a much different, we hope, looking Phillies team. This deadline is not going to be graded out at 6:01 p.m. today. It will not be. Well, it will be by a lot of pundits and writers and podcasters and everybody, right? That's not the way to do it. It takes time to see. It takes time to figure out how these guys fit, how they're going to hit, who gets hot, who doesn't. You know, there are so many trade deadline moves that for the first month or so of it did not look like they were going to work. And then that player gets hot for the postseason, and next thing you know, they're this hero that helped them win the World Series. There are some that guys look great in August and September, and then come October, they completely disappear, and all it did was get you into the postseason, but didn't get you any closer to winning a World Series. That's the reality. So if you're judging this based on name, as soon as things get moved, that's hasty. There are some scenarios where, hey, if they go get such a great player, we can be excited. And if they do so little, we can be really pissed off. But if it's one of these like middle of the road, like, hey, that could work moves, I don't want people to have a knee-jerk reaction right off the rip as soon as the deadline ends, right? This is going to be something that takes time. There are still 2 months left in the regular season, and then October to determine what this baseball team's legacy is going to be, and what Dave Dombrowski's legacy is going to be, and what Rob Thompson's legacy is going to be, and a lot of players on this team. So you don't have to win the World Series today. You don't have to win the World Series tomorrow. So all I'm saying is, as much as we've been building up this date, it is not the end-all be-all. It is for roster construction, and that will be important. But as far as evaluating this team, it is not. So have an open mind. Cross your fingers, cross your toes, knock on wood, all of that good luck stuff that we always talk about here. We need every last bit of it, because this is one of the bigger days in this era of Philadelphia Phillies baseball, and they need to nail it. They do. If they don't, it could be years of side effects that lead to bad baseball for this team. So let's hope that doesn't happen, shall we? Again, I'm going to be back on Tuesday. So I will have a full episode for you then, breaking down everything from the deadline. Phillies, other stuff around the league that affects the Phillies, a whole bunch of stuff. So I appreciate you bearing with me while I go on vacation here. I will be doing immediate reaction videos from Ibiza. So stay tuned to the Locked On Phillies YouTube channel, and I'll have those shorts for you up. But God bless the Phillies. God bless Dave Dombrowski, and hopefully we get something done. That's all for today's episode. Next time I talk to you, it'll be post-trade deadline. So thank you so much for joining us. Once again, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. And I'll talk to you Tuesday. Brand new Phillies team on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.